Welcome back to the Matt McNeil Show. I'm JP Garabagosian, filling in for Matt, who is off today. I am really looking forward to this next conversation. The Reverend Harry Hartigan is here. He has a really special background, which includes being the founder of Let's Do Lunch monthly lunches for older members of the LGBTQ community. Harry, welcome to the Matt McNeil Show.
Well, thank you, JP. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Also in the studio with me is my executive producer of this queer book, Save My Life, Jim Pounds. Jim, why don't you kick us off in our conversation?
Hi, Harry. It's good to see you. I met Harry, I'm going to say a year ago, I'm being general here, on another project related to the Remember Project, which is part of Trellis. And we got together a couple of times, and I was just so struck with how Harry was an advocate for, I felt like you were an advocate for more than just your own personal point of view, but that because of the organizations you created and the associations you've had, that you represented, at least to me, the perspective of an older LGBT person, and that you thought of it as a community, you know, that you advocated for the whole group of us. I'm part of that as well, obviously part of that. I think for Let's Do Lunch, is it 50 and older that are invited to Let's Do Lunch?
It's anyone can come, right? But it is older adults,
Okay.
Seniors. So that's the majority of the folks that attend.
Can you tell us sort of the how that came about? What was the impetus there? Was it your own personal need? Did you gather with other people, or was it just your own crusade, do you think?
So I was, at the time, I was a member of, and I still am, I'm a lifetime member of Primetimers Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Right.
And I believe at that time I was the president of the organization. We had folks that needed help, solo seniors living alone with no family support. And in this particular case, and in many of the cases, they are unable to do for themselves. And so we aligned ourselves with, at that time, Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly, and today they're called Friends & Co., a great organization that tries to help the senior population. Part of that was we got a grant from P-Fund, and we wanted to show the documentary Gen Silent. And so we worked with the producers, and in a very cold, frozen February night over at St. Mary's, we had an event and showed Gen Silent, had a panel to discuss it, and we had 125 people attend. And for the night I was amazed.
Yeah.
And Gen Silent opened a great dialogue regarding the LGBT community, how we're dealt with, or not dealt with, how we're cared for. How do we, if you're not married, if you're a solo senior and you don't have family, how do you move about this world as you age?
Right.
And somehow, I'm only like 39.
I know. Me too.
But somehow I'm connected to older folks, and it seems to keep creeping up, right?
Right.
I think I'm done, and then another person arrives on the doorstep. And the seniors, once they trust you, they'll come to you for support or to try to find support. As we know, during COVID, you barely could get anybody. And we still have a lot of issues facing the solo seniors. Mm-hmm. I had a woman who was, at the time, I think she was like 82, and she has a house in the Roseville area on a beautiful piece of property. She was up on a ladder cleaning her gutters.
What?
And I said, that ain't going to happen. That shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be on the ladder, right? But they're so stubborn, and they don't, and I guess I'm one of them, right? I'm stubborn, but they they don't want to ask for help, or they feel like they're not going to get the help they need.
Is there a prevailing issue relative to age that you find consistently is an issue, or like you're saying, is it like it's as varied as there are people in terms of what the challenges are for an LGBTQ person that's living solo like that? Is there a collection of things?
Oh, go ahead.
No,
I think that there's some uniqueness person to person,
Right.
but there's some similarities, right?
Okay.
How do you get the proper care? Who helps you at home?
Right.
There's a big push for this aging in place. It's a great concept, but if there's no one to help you,
Right.
right? And I use the example of my friend who when you and I were working together, my friend David, who passed away, no one had been in his home for 20 years.
Wow.
Even I hadn't been in his home for 20 years. There's a reason. He didn't want us to see what was going on.
Right.
And so he had some distant family. They hadn't seen what was going on. And it was pretty, as I told someone, the cost of cleaning out his house can range from 10 grand to his clean out cost him $65,000 in loss.
Wow. Well, like you say, if people are estranged from their family or just happen to live in another place and don't have this is true for a solo senior who isn't LGBTQ, but I think
Correct.
It's more profound in our case. And so I'm wondering what Let's Do Lunch does is say, hey, let's at least get together and let's see each other and acknowledge each other and try to develop some connections with other people. But you've also been an advocate, and I know you're not an expert on this, but boy, you've been an advocate for the LGBTQ Center for decades, I believe. Is that right?
It sure feels like it.
Yeah.
We're the only major, metropolitan area that doesn't have one.
Can you explain
Why?
that? I don't understand that.
I don't know. Nobody. I have been beating the drum, right,
Yeah.
for a long time. Any chance I got to say, what about a center, an LGBTQ center?
Right.
And then everybody looks down and kind of slinks away. But queer immunity is trying on a different level, right? Not financed through anybody. They are doing their own financing. They are opening up in the Uptown area in October. And it's the beginning. It's a beginning. And it's a place that the community can come together. We don't have a place, right? If you don't go to a bar, you're in trouble.
Right.
Right? So we don't have a place to connect. Let's Do Lunch connects the older group of folks, but it's taken a long time. It's taken 10 years. The holiday party that we had this past December, there were over 100 people at the lunch. It started out with 8 to 10.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So it's growing. And one thing you'll see, I was talking to a gentleman from the U. He's working on his PhD in gerontology. And I'm like, what were you thinking? Seniors are hard. This is a hard topic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get to them, right? They seem to go into hiding,
Right.
or they don't want you to know what's going on.
Right.
I have a group that I kind of follow, part of the Let's Do Lunch group, and they don't want you to know what's going on, right? If, God forbid, there were fires, some of them couldn't get out of their homes.
Right.
And I'm a clean freak. Unfortunately, I'm not a junk collector. I don't, right? My kids laugh because I tell them they can get me out of my apartment in like 3 hours. We just had someone move out of my building, 7 truckloads.
What?
7 truckloads.
Does-
And they're a straight person.
Does the center, is it envisioned to have anything specifically for seniors, or it's right now just envisioned as community?
They're just getting started, so they're going to have a cafe and some support services as they build on it. So it's just getting underway, and hopefully they have I was supposed to see the space last week, and we had to reschedule, but it sounds like it's above the bookstore on Hartigan Avenue.
Yep.
And it's a huge amount of space. It used to be an architecture firm. So I'm hoping, right? And of course, there's a lot of need. It's who's going to come to the table.
Right.
Is there going to be parking?
What? Right across
the neighborhood.
Right across the street is the Calhoun parking garage.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yes, right across the street, and they'll do some validation of parking. There's some handicap parking. It has an elevator, right? Has all the things that we would have wanted in a space, right? You got to have, with seniors, you really need to have accessibility. Metro Transit needs to be able to drop off people.
Right.
Metro Mobility.
Right.
So, and many can't walk.
Right.
Especially if they leave their canes and walkers at home.
Right. Is there a way people can be part of the process for developing what the center is, or contributing ideas, or contributing money? Or
we have a website, Queermunity, and Hillary is one of the founders. There's a couple of founders, but they are doing a funding campaign currently to get the space the way it needs to be currently. And so they're building on it, and they're open to all kinds of ideas. They've been to Let's Do Lunch twice to talk to the folks. The folks are excited about it, right?
I'll bet.
It's a concept. We started talking about a community center. I'm a late bloomer, but in 2007, Out Front started talking about a center, and the city was going to give us a lot, and we were going to build a building, and that all went away. And it just seems every time there was another group working on it, I don't know what happened to them or where they've gone, but there seems to be people think we don't need it because of marriage amendment and all of that other, but we do.
Yeah.
We desperately need it.
Well, and it sort of leads me to the idea of housing, because I still marvel at the fact that, to my knowledge, there's only one single pure LGBT senior housing project that I know about. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Are you talking about Spirit on Lake?
Right.
And Spirit on Lake was meant to be, LGBTQ folks have priority, but there's a lot of non-LGBTQ folks living there because of the financing piece of it, right? So it's challenging.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I would think housing, that would solve a couple of the problems. If you could get more LGBT senior housing, it would create some community at the same time, and some collection.
It would help.
It would help, I think.
And they just built a big thing down in Palm Springs, right? This big community.
Yep.
I can't live there, but I'd need your salary and mine, right?
Right. And JP's, yeah.
Yeah, right. We need everybody's money
just
to move
get
down
one.
to Palm Springs and live in that.
But
I hear it's fabulous.
But that's the thing. This shouldn't be. It seems like a business opportunity that I've never understood why. Real estate's constantly complaining about how the market isn't good for one thing or another, and yet this seems like a market that has a lot of need but not a lot of output.
Right.
Oh, well, I'm hearing the music, so it sounds like we are going to take a break. Harry, this has been so lovely. Thank you for joining us here on the Matt McNeil Show.
Thank you for having me, right? Hopefully, Let's Do Lunch continues to grow, right? We've outgrown the space, so, they're looking for new space. So.
All right.
Thanks, Harry.
Yes, it will. Well, folks, we'll see you after this break. Harry, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.